Hi, I'm Cyarra Campbell, and welcome to my presentation on the Torres Strait Islanders. The Torres Strait Islanders are a group of Aboriginal people that live on the multiple islands that are known as the Torres Strait, which is just off of the coast of Cape York. The people of these islands recognize themselves as seafaring people because their land and the ocean are very sacred to them and is explored throughout their culture. They differ in their way of life compared to the Aboriginal group of Australia. Although they are similar, they have different spiritualities and values with their land and culture. There's about 6,800 islanders living on one of 5 islands, and 42,000 live on the mainland in Queensland and all identify as Torres Strait Aboriginal. The islands that 97 kilometers close to Australia and Cape York are considered Australian land. The islanders have 2 traditional languages, Meriam and Kalalegaya. Kalalegaya was created from Pidgin English during the time of European settlement. Before contact, the people had over 225 languages, but only 20 remained strong amongst them. The people from Indonesian archipelago migrated to Cape York, Australia, and Papua New Guinea over 70,000 years ago with Melanesian descent, creating the culture of the Aboriginals on those lands. About 8,000 years ago, sea levels are believed to have been dropped, creating a bridge between Papua New Guinea and Australia. This helped people migrate over to Cape York. This created the island, which is known to be found by a Spanish captain named Luis de Torres, and he lived from 1565 until the 1600s. The strait now separates the continent of Australia from the islands of New Guinea. This is a reason for only the islands 97 kilometers away from Australia are a part of that region and considering Torres Strait Islanders a part of Australia. The split created 5 islands that are part of Australia. The Northern Island, which is considered the hunting islands due to its abundant wildlife. The Western Islands, known as the Rocky Islands, because of its consistence of high granite hills with basaltic outcrops, which are dark-colored solidification of molten outcrops. The Southern Islands has the most population and as well freshwater springs and centers for pearling and fishing industries. Central Island, which is also called Kalkalgal, known as the Fishing Islands, it consists of small sandy cays and is surrounded by coral reef. And finally, the Eastern Islands, also called the Meriam, is the Gardening Islands. The Torres Strait Islanders are considering a living force with its own strengths and influences. They are not considering their culture a remnant of the past. Most of their culture is deep-rooted with links to the ocean. Because of this, marine life is a sacred part of their culture as well. Some marine life are shown as totemic beings, including turtles, fish, dugongs, sharks, seabirds, and saltwater crocodiles. These animals are represented throughout their culture, art, and storytelling. Dance is a big part of their storytelling. They create dari masks and headdresses made for the rituals. The people's creation of arts are being recognized as sculptural art objects. A man named Tyde Sr. in 1950 created an art piece called a shark headdress, made out of plywood, bamboo, plastic, feathers, and string. Because most of the creations represent recent history, the shark headdress was to represent the planes in World War II, which represented hammerhead sharks. Torres Strait Islanders' art bring all of their background to play, including hammerhead, including Melanesian carving skills, and bring unique stories to recreate a vibrant image of their home. This shows me how they use their culture's past, present, and future in everything they do. Speaking of background, the Islanders' culture represents Australian, Papuan, and Austronesian elements that are complex. They are mixed in, which makes their traditional languages mixed. Kalalega relates to the Australian mainland Aboriginal people. The other traditional language, Meriam-Mer, relates to Papuan languages and is mainly used on the Eastern Islands. Their beliefs and spirituality relate to before and after contact. Believing in a marine afterworld is from a Melanesian custom the Torres Strait Islanders adapted to. Being so close to land and sea, they don't see land and sea two separate spheres. They see them as one. They call it the Tagai, which is ensuring everything has a place. After contact, the Torres Strait Islanders lost many of their ways to European missionaries. They then converted to Christianity and has remained strong from 1871 to present. The Torres are not only governed by Christianity, but also alien custom, meaning island custom, which gives the people a strong and abiding relationship and connection with the land and sea. Settlement began in 1788. When the first contact hit, the European missionaries saw the Aboriginal people, but established the land as empty and conquerable. Terra Nullius, which means non-inhabited, is what they named the land. When the settlement began, there was only about 300,000 Aboriginal people to 1 million Europeans. In 2011, among the Torres Strait and Aboriginal population, 6%, 38,100 people, identified as Torres Strait. Due to settlement and European missionaries, the Aboriginal people of Australia and the Torres Strait Islanders didn't just lose their land and ways of being. They lost multiple of their own from disease brought over from Europe. They had no protection from any of the diseases, including smallpox, influenza, and measles. As well, there was massive random killings, punitive expeditions, and organized massacres because Europe wanted the people gone. The Australian government, opinion makers, the media, academia, and anyone who is not Aboriginal has neglected the Torres Strait Islanders, and you can even tell about how they are spoken about on government official websites. Many of the sites that seem to have respected and praised the Torres Strait people called them what they wanted to be called. They addressed Indigenous as a generic term and should not be said. But the government quotes, Indigenous or Aboriginal is so called because they were living on their lands before settlers came from elsewhere. The quote seems to say, with no respect to the Torres Strait Islanders, that they are so called, meaning to me, the government really neglects everything about the Aboriginal people, and they are still fighting for rights and respect. The Torres Strait Islanders are an unique culture that should be respected. They have a long history and a deep connection to their land and sea, which is shown throughout their culture, that we can't even begin to understand, but should try and give them the utmost respect. They cherish all beings and see everything should have a place in the world. The Tagai is everything has a place in the world. They don't deserve neglect and disrespect from their own government.